Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Colin Dawson, here with the Political Minute. And just in saying, I've had a lot of people go off about this one situation, most notably over how I said, well, I have no problem with him. I made a comment on his YouTube channel. I think he's a very intelligent man. It came out to me from a bunch of my, let's put it this way, contacts, because I'd never call anybody a friend anymore. I've watched too many people get beat up throughout middle school and the early part of college for any of this, and the police are just like, well, you were either with old America or else you socialized with the wrong people, saying that they were wrong as in any of the war criminals they have around here. You're not allowed to go to their businesses or anything else like that or anything. And I have no problem with him. I probably, depending on who would be running against him, would actually vote for this man. This man is Anthony Brian Logan. I really am sick and tired of a lot of people hacking in here because, honestly, anyone who is from the rebirth generation or anything else is 100% everything just a bunch of jerks. I mean, they could actually view something. Because it doesn't count the same unless you go all the way to the end of the video. So it's like just fast forward and take it there and let it run the last 2 seconds or whatever it is of it. And especially from stalker families that are pastors that think that they are Jewish or descended from Jesus Christ or something else. Or else want to make jokes about how, they've raped different Jewish people and, 22% of their DNA is in that person. And do you know how it got there and other stuff like that? And yes, I said, well, yes, in all this, just to get everybody to stop the hacking and the constant berating and everything else. And I do know that his name, because it came back from a lot of black people about probably almost at the very first of the COVID thing, that their name is associated with black Nazis. Logan. I've watched a lot of people go out there, and it's like they come down here from up north, they're blue necks, they go, Farragut's German. And they go out there and they've killed people in Farragut, right outside of the city, whatever it is. Therefore, it doesn't look like it's a crime of the city or anything. And stuff like that does happen. And it's happened routinely in this area. Most of the areas out here, it's like a lot of the people who do go to Lutheranic churches are Japanese descent. They just have silver hair and people don't realize it. And, they all expect them to look really whatever. I have them fuss at me all the time that they're not German. But for some reason, the Blue Necks know how to tell the difference. And with everything up there, with everything with how I said, I have no problem with him. He just needs to get a DNA test. Okay? Settled that for whatever with his constituents or anyone else. Or, now non-silent public. Non-silent majority now. I would honestly say that. I've had to have DNA tests numerous times. Whenever I go up to certain areas that's right across the border, even if it's to Georgia, and people always like Cherokee, North Carolina, I will watch them come out of the woodwork, and they will pick up my cans, they will swab it for DNA, anything that I throw down. Some of them are just like, I'm just following you for the trash, fingerprints, everything else, and you have to maintain that which is 88% of your DNA without genetic GMO transfers or anything else out there over it. You cannot have any of that ever happen. For any reason, you cannot have anything at all out there. And if you have 22% of the DNA changed, if you're from this local area or anything else that doesn't match, you are taken out, and they take the Secret Service and they kill you, or whoever it is. And generally they'll let the young people around here do that because you've tried changing and becoming too much like them in the Roman colony here. And that's just what they do. We have a port city, Knoxville, that's like Rome. It's a port city for all the oddities and everything else to come in. They have a place up in the mountains they call the Pit, Gatlinburg area, and everything else. And then they have the gateway into heaven, that is Oak Ridge, and everything else. Then they have where everybody just lives and does everything else, and it's right up at the top of the valley on the little ridge out there where the Blue Ridge Lakes are. And that's just how it is. They remade Rome here as much as they could. They supported Mussolini. We've had numerous little mini civil wars here during World War II and World War I and the regular Civil War that everybody knows about in the 1820 Andrew Jackson thing. Now, just being honest with you, I have no problem if he ran for president. I'm sure that, since he's a YouTube personality, it's not going to happen, anything else. 20 billion other things out there. And it's like, I just commented on something and said, when are you going to run for president, man? I was being openly serious. And I'm sure there's 10 or 12 things. It's like, I just cannot stand him, probably. But that's pretty good if we're going to be a presidential candidate. And in this saying it, I'm not his slave. I'm not somehow underneath him like some of these people that hack in here that I know are Japanese and Japanese war criminal descendants. And they've never been anything else. And they purposely target all the undercover police and hack through them and everything. Find their DNA, everything else. And I've known one family that's I'm sorry, it's a small little town. The granddaughter is now working stuff. And they try and pin everything on them for everything in the world with entrapment, saying how they come over and say, we know that you're, a cop. And they openly go out there after them, and, it's questionable over the sexual situations and everything. And they run a lot of child situations here that have nothing to do with anybody ever even going well. You couldn't really say it's the Japanese Empire because they're all blonde. And everybody's like, people don't exist like that. Most of all the people that were with the USA here that were blonde or brown, fawn-headed, they're all gone. They don't exist anymore. They just ended up cut into pieces the size of dollar bills because they were supposedly hookers. And, I know that this is probably way off subject with him, but that's what goes back to everything else here. All the Zoom Man situations, everything else like that. And, they even have their own language in Rome where they call it going Sioux. And they based it off of some Native American stuff so they could try and see how much they take over Native American cultures. And whenever they change the language enough to match with them, they go after them. I mean, this is a major thing. And I understand that locally in the area. And it's citing that he's not someone who grew up throughout puberty, over there. You can do this without even taking a bone biopsy now and doing a scan to see if he had too much cobalt or radioactive stuff if he was from Ukraine or something else like that for anyone. And it's this would all be taken care of, by the Secret Service or anything else if he made a legitimate bid at the presidency. And I'm just being honest with you. This is what they all do around here. And it's not really a major business. There are a lot of people who do corruption with it. A lot of the Nazis go out here and say, you can't do this, and these people are undercover for whatever it is. And they take the military DNA swabs that they talk about on the news that get stolen. And they use them around here. And this is a very big situation over politics. And we have been paying, basically, for our DNA to be cataloged and logged at the federal level through Ancestry.com, DNA23, everything else. And because they're not going to hold us all down or else offer us $55 a month. $55 a week, $45 a week. Your kid will be able to go to college and surely he'll graduate. Oh, heck no. That's what they did with me and did all these DNA studies and found out that I'm related to people or something or other places and came from all these weird little genetic things. And they're a really genetically isolated group that then had a bunch of people come in about this time and then they married into this one other family. And we can really trace everything back and think that it's really, really, really good. And, we'll be able to find out, the very first Adam and Eve from all of it. And I'm telling you, it's would you not do that for if your kid was 2, for, say, up until he went to kindergarten, and be $45 a week, put it in there, the interest alone in the 80s will pay for him to go to college. And then they're just like, well, that was illegal and they didn't ask us. So we can just screw him up and take his college from him. And don't worry, his brain after then will be so screwed up. And all we have to do is just know you all are workers and you'll work too many hours. And it's like, we've already kept you sleep deprived for that many hours. You're never going to be able to go to college and understand or learn anything. And you're never going to have kids. Because basically, I was standing no further from the posters back behind me or whatever's in the corner back there. The little owl, the feather in its little vase system. And I tell you this right now. I was there when the president said, we're going to have to give this city over to the Nazis and just hope whoever's here will just work. Send in the taxes, and there won't have to be a full-blown international reporting incident. And I'd love to tell you which president it was, but technically every one of them that was alive that had any real media clout or anything else was basically all standing there. And all came to that one little spot. Even if they weren't talking with each other because they're on other parties or something else like that, sent their little personal Secret Service person over from, the open cafe area across the promenade, so to speak of, or even halfway. But that's basically it. So, there's a reason why I said, I have no problem voting for him if he can pass a DNA test. And unless they traded all of his bones out from the ones that came over that killed most of the black people in Knoxville at the time in the 80s and replaced them with people from Portuguese-speaking countries and a bunch of the areas over in Africa that had Roman principalities where they're black. They may not be African, they may be Latin, that have lived there for thousands of years, and you go, so they're partial breeds. They're not partial breeds. You ever say that to somebody out there from it, they will milk you for everything, and you'll die with a needle that they put in your arm that looks like you were a heroin addict for a long time. Or something of that equivalency. I know this one will probably never get a like and subscribe, but just a political minute with Colin Dawson, the explanation over political situations stemming from the enemies of the United States of America.